everyone. I'm Laura Valean, Senior Editor with Commercial Property Executive, and you're listening to Crew Up, CP's quarterly podcast series with Crew Network leaders. This quarter, I have the pleasure of speaking with the organization's new CEO, Alison Beddard, an accomplished commercial real estate executive with 2 decades of industry and volunteer leadership experience. Welcome to Crew Up, Alison.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So, for most of your career, you served in different roles at Cushman Wakefield, right?
Yes.
And you've had a remarkable journey in commercial real estate. Do you remember what drew you to this industry in the first place and what's kept you going and inspired over the years?
Oh, yes. So it is wild to think that I have now been in the commercial real estate industry for 20 years. I started out, so I guess I should start with, I didn't know anything about commercial real estate growing up. I
Oh,
actually got my degree in nutrition and dietetics. My family was in like the sciences, and so I was really encouraged to go into the sciences field. And so
hmm
I'm like a lot of folks who find commercial real estate a little bit later, maybe it wasn't their first career. And that was kind of my case. I wasn't encouraged to be an entrepreneur because I just didn't have any of those influences in my life. But everybody would tell me, you would be so good at sales. And I was just so petrified of the idea of commission work or owning my own business because I just didn't grow up with that, that
hmm
I was just, I just had a lot of fear around that. So I was encouraged to go into a brokerage role, and I'm so glad that I did because what I found was this freedom of charting my own course in business and being able to like actually impact the decisions in the community around me. Commercial real estate
hmm
literally touches just about everything around us. If you look
Right.
around, there's some decision. I realized how much I loved helping people and I loved helping businesses. So navigating business decisions, but then actually impacting the communities. So that was kind of how I initially got into brokerage. It was very scary. I think the first year I made $6,000, but I knew I was going to be so good at it. It was the first time in my life. I then parlayed that 3 years. I had a pretty good business going. I had a good start, and then the great financial crisis hit, 2008. I was only 3 years in the business, and that would have been a
Okay.
time that most people would have said, "Oh, go try something else." But that's when I found Crew, and Crew was kind of a new chapter locally. I didn't know anything about it, but I was looking to build my business network, obviously, and looking for support, just finding other people that I could relate to and ask questions and all of that. And so I've really found early
The
on in my
perfect place.
career Crew. Yeah. So coming to full circle here moment, is pretty incredible.
Great. Do you have any professional or personal moments that you're proud of? Because you told me you have a 20-year career. I'm sure there were lots of moments. Is there any particular one that stands out?
You know, that's there are several moments. You're absolutely right, Laura. It's hard to pinpoint just one thing, but here's something that I do think about. I reflect on all the risks that I've taken, stepping out of my comfort zone to raising my hand to take on a leadership role at Cushman and Wakefield, transitioning from brokerage to leadership. That was a risky move that most people would have thought, is risky, but I leaned into that, to also moving to a whole new city during COVID to build a successful team recognized by the community and our clients. I mean, that was incredible. But that's a lot of risk taking, and I'm so proud that I have always been willing to, what I would say, walk through the fire, to say, you know what, I'm going to trust that whatever's on the other side, I'm going to be better for it. I've moved here in 4.5 years ago. The Crew Seattle chapter helped me with like initial outreach. They helped me connect with all the right leaders in the community to help me get integrated. I mean, I never
hmm
asked for that, but there was an outpouring of support, and you can't pay for that. Those are relationships that you build. So, and then the other thing, is I got a text the other day from a young man that I helped recruit and help him early on in his career. And he reached out to me just to thank me for like I mean, he's so successful now. And it's been so fun to watch him, grow. And there's so many people like that in my world that I've been able to maybe touch in some small way that's helped them along the years, and help them stretch way past their comfort zones. And that's super rewarding for me. That's what gets me up in the morning.
And now you've stepped into this role at a time of growth, of global growth for Crew Network. You're like, the network is like 14,000 members now.
Mm-hmm.
What's your
Oh,
vision for the next 3 to 5 years? What's your vision for the organization?
well, you know what? I envision a future where women have achieved parity, opportunity, influence, power, and compensation in the commercial real estate industry. Next year, the Crew Network board will be engaging in a strategic planning to set the vision, goals, and priorities for the organization over the next 3 to 5 years. So it's going to be really good timing for us to come together and set that course or for the next planning session. We aim for Crew to be known as the industry's most inclusive global business network built on cutting edge technology, connecting our members' expertise seamlessly across all of our markets and continents, and representing all 36 disciplines within commercial real estate. We also seek to create prosperity and business success for our members and their clients, and accelerating meaningful impact in the lives of women at all stages of their careers. That's really probably the most unique thing about Crew is that we touch all 36 disciplines within commercial real estate. So we are there for the full life cycle, of a deal or transactions.
Mm-hmm. Are there any lessons from your previous experiences that you're bringing into your CEO role now? Because I know in 2017, you led the Crew Network board through a global expansion and a major tech platform launch. So I'm sure there were lots of lessons.
Uh, you've done your research. I have. I've served literally, I think, almost every volunteer position you can in Crew, over the years, right? So I have learned a lot. Most specifically, I think about some of the lessons I learned when I was Crew Network president in 2017. We did guide the board through global expansion, through a major tech platform launch. That is also something that we are looking at right now. We'll talk about that as more infrastructure around our technology. But bringing all of those experiences, I was part of the search committee that hired the CEO, so it is a full circle moment, coming into the CEO role
This
now.
role, right?
But what I look at, is really, it's always, you have to be looking ahead. You have to be able to stay nimble, and you have to be able to communicate decisions early and often to ensure that I've got the necessary support to succeed. Working closely with the board to understand their vision and goals so we can bring them to life. That is something that I learned early, and it's incredibly important coming into my role now, as we look forward to some of the decisions we'll be making on behalf of a much larger organization, right? Like with a greater reach and more depth than we were even 10 years ago.
You mentioned previous CEOs. Do you plan to build on their legacy?
Yeah. I'm so fortunate. I had the opportunity to serve under both CEOs. Under my tenure as a volunteer leader, and it's wonderful. One of the most important lessons that I learned very early on was the importance of cultivating the board member talents and skills to bring out the very best in that hand-selected group of leaders. Their work is incredibly important to the future of the organization, and each of those 10 voices is critically important. So driving a completely impartial nominating committee process helps us achieve that special board dynamic. So that's something that's very important to me and something I learned from both of them. The growth I've seen in the last several years is nothing less than impressive, and I aim to continue to build on that foundation laid and continue our membership growth, our investment in leadership development programs, and our industry research.
You've been both a practitioner and a leader. How does your brokerage background inform your approach to leading a member-driven organization like Crew?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a wonderful background. Being both a broker and a leader of brokers, I've had a unique lens in coaching and guiding as well as transacting over the years, right? So I understand the business and I understand people. I look at my new role a little similarly. So I was a member. I understand the minds of our members. I was a chapter leader. I was also a network leader, right? So I understand those mindsets. And
Mm-hmm.
and I understand, and knowing what each of our chapters, how they're managed and led independently, it gives me a unique insight in working with our chapters, much like working with independent contractors. Approaching it from a partnership and a coaching mindset, not the do as I say approach is going to get us a lot farther with communicating decisions. So I feel real comfortable in that environment, and seeing people where they're at, and candidly doing a lot more listening than talking will get you much further in leadership.
It can't be all roses. I'm sure there'll be challenges, and you anticipate those challenges because this is not an easy job you've taken on. And how are you preparing to tackle all those challenges that might be ahead?
Yeah, Laura, you're absolutely right. This role and any other, I mean, there's always challenges ahead, right? So here's some of the things I'm thinking about. Crew Network has grown exponentially in the last few years, like I mentioned. Last year alone, we added 6 new chapters. We've added chapters in Mexico and the UK, which brings another level of complexity with governance, currencies, and cultures. These are positive growing pains that we'll work to tackle in the years ahead, but nevertheless, growing pains. Like most organizations, we're navigating the challenges of staying at the forefront of technology and AI. So on that note, we're embarking on a new accounting and chapter services technology infrastructure investment to catalyze our chapter management experience and also streamline operations at Crew Network. So we'll continue to elevate our operational model to ensure we're providing the best experience and service at competitive costs. That's something we're looking at. And we will continue to seek ways to educate and upskill our members and staff in AI. Another thing, is on our minds as we'll navigate the challenges related to the current political and economic climates. Economic uncertainty, tariffs, changing mandates are all top concerns for our members. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and parity for women is also at risk of regression at a time when we should be pushing for progress. Right? So challenges here could translate to lack of funding or lack of leadership support or fear of backlash or criticism. But however, it might be also a good time for companies to re-examine their DEI, talent, and culture strategies and discuss how these strategies impact their bottom lines. So we see ourselves as part of the solution in that and being a great partner to the climate to help our members and support our members and partners.
And DEI has always been a core crew mission. How is Crew Network evolving to support women, not just in entry level or mid career roles, but also in C suite and ownership positions?
Mm-hmm. Crew's always been known for our supportive leadership development programs. I think we're one of the leaders in that space. But a few years ago, Crew Network identified and launched what we call the Crew Councils to provide a unique forum for members to engage with peers for business deals, knowledge exchange, experience sharing, relationship building, all based on their particular industry sector or specialty. So it's a confidential kind of sharing group with a small platform. 2 of these peer groups are the CEO and the CFO councils. So they cater to the unique needs of women in the industry at those particular levels. The Crew's fundamental investment in leadership development for women has become, like I said, one of the hallmarks of our organization. We will be launching a new, robust, career-spanning leadership development program in the coming years, and it will include a program designed for women at the executive level and those ready for corporate board service. Another thing that we're exploring and talking about is ways to invest in women or help women raise capital for women-led projects and developments, especially tapping into all the entrepreneurial talent and owners that we have within the membership. So that's something that we're exploring and talking about how we can further that.
Looking towards the future, what does success look like for you in this role, both personally and for the organization as a whole?
Success for me in this role is really, it's simple, but it's to see the organization, our members flourish, to see the next generations continue to influence decision making in more tangible, visible leadership roles. Pushing our mission forward, accelerating success for women in the commercial real estate industry globally, seeing our business network continue to expand to be the most inclusive commercial real estate business network. For me personally, I feel like I've been blessed with the opportunity to do kind of my life's work, to bring my passion and my business side together to really impact generations of talent, in a way that creates lasting change in our lifetimes. It's a pretty incredible opportunity to be a part of.
One last question, Alison. If you could
Mhm.
give one piece of advice to a young woman entering commercial real estate today, what would it be? You told me you've helped people throughout your career. Maybe you've mentored some, but if a young woman wants to
Mhm.
enter this space now and is listening to this podcast,
Mhm.
what should she know?
This one, I love mentoring and helping young women enter the industry. I think about this a lot because I've met for many a women over coffee. So this is something I think about. I always tell them, don't overthink it. Just try it. What is the worst that can happen? But be curious, be open, and ask for help. So many times, I find that they're just not asking for help. You've got to create a network. The other thing best advice is if you're swimming upstream and you can't seem to find your lane, it may be time to try a different river. There are way too many companies out there today and organizations that want to help you succeed. And if you feel like you're just not in the right thing, but sometimes it may just mean that you need to make a switch. So sometimes we have a tendency to hang around too long in something. Most importantly, develop your network, join crew, give yourself every
Obviously.
advantage, give yourself every advantage by building your network. Especially in the commercial real estate industry, we don't do it alone. Relationships matter. The people it absolutely matters to helping you be your best and be successful.
Thank you very much for making the time to speak with me, Alison. I wish you all the best in your new role, and I look forward to our next chat because I'm sure we'll have many more.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it and congratulations.
Thank you all for listening. If you liked this episode, please rate and review it on the podcast platform you're using. For the latest news, trend stories, and podcasts, check out cpexecutive.com every day. I also encourage you to subscribe to our recently relaunched YouTube page, which includes exclusive interviews with high profile executives in the commercial real estate industry. Till next time.